extremely sad, the death of these cubs. But, I want to ask you straight up that do you think Project Cheetah was, there was not much detailing done to it, Valmik Thapar? I mean, it was launched, of course, with the intent of reviving the cheetah population. Where do you think we went wrong?
Basically, India is not the land of the cheetah. It's alien to the cheetah, whatever anyone might say. So as far as I'm concerned, this was an ill-advised multi-million-dollar project. We should have never tried to reintroduce African cheetahs in India. We should have never tried this experiment because cheetahs need the best terrain. Cheetahs need excellent prey species in their tens of thousands and wide open spaces because they run very fast. They need flat ground, not stony soils, no nalas, no riverbeds, no hills. They need to find suitable habitats which cover all these things. And India is a very unfriendly terrain for cheetahs. So as far as I'm concerned, the project was ill-advised. Yes, for 300 years, India had thousands of cheetahs, but पालतू cheetahs, जैसे पालतू कुत्ते होते हैं, cheetah, the rajas and the maharajas, the super elite, the rich people, they were imported from Africa. There are enough records to suggest that there was cheetahs with everyone who was wealthy. They were used for hunting. They were used after black buck, and they were used as pets, as loved pets, because they never bit the owner, they never killed the owner, unlike even pet dogs. So ye paltu the sab jagah, and some were runaways. In my opinion, I've done a book called Exotic Aliens. Out of these thousands, many ran away and they formed little pockets of stray cheetahs all around. So the British hunted some, Maharajas hunted some, and the whole story of what happened in the last 100 years needs to be understood by the architects of, because if they realized that India was not the land of the cheetah, then we didn't need to reintroduce it. Particularly at this point, 2023, where we have a population of 1.4 billion, the cheetahs in Kuno Palpur, when they are released, are running to the border of Jhansi, then they have to be redarted, tranquilized and brought all the way back. So we need to rethink, to review, to sit with a think tank, to have opposing views, to get our younger scientists who have a different opinion to come and see whether this project is worth it, whether it should be modified, and how we can prevent more cheetahs from dying. We still have a summer to go through and a raging monsoon.
Right. Valmik Thapar, of the 4 of Jwalas, 3 have already died, and the reasons that we've been reading across the press is that they were weak, they were malnourished, the summer was scorching, 47 degrees in a space like Kuno National Park. Do you think all these reasons really wash? Do you think that it is quite possible? Because some experts have also said that it is not unusual for a young mother to lose her first litter, Valmik Thapar.
Unusual for a mother to lose her litter, but the chances of losing a litter are increased tremendously when the mother is in an enclosure. She's given birth in an enclosure, she's looked after the cubs, you've been able to hand feed them, you've been able to give them prey around them, you've stuffed the enclosures with food, you have veterinary specialists, you have state-of-the-art hospital equipment for the cheetahs, so you should be able to look after the cheetahs. In the wild, cheetah cubs have a high mortality because everything's after them. Hyenas get to them, leopards get to them, lions get to them, and they're killed. But that's not happening in these enclosures. I think that there will be big problems with the 4th cub. I think everyone knows about this Indian summer. Everyone knows that temperatures can climb in that edge of Madhya Pradesh or in Rajasthan to 50 degrees centigrade in the summer. And cheetahs are not used to this. If you look at the whole of Africa, cheetahs are living in a much temperature. They are not active at this temperature. Even human beings can't be active. Tigers go into in the water because they can't move too much in this heat. So I think temperature is not the issue when you have tigers in a controlled situation in a big enclosure where the mother has 3 cubs. I think the issue is that this is not the land of the cheetah, and cheetahs are susceptible to every infection and disease. They are all over the world, but free-ranging cheetahs in Africa fight off the diseases much better than captive animals.
Go on, Valmik, go on.
And we have to understand how cheetahs live in the wild. All the architects of our reintroduction of cheetah haven't looked at cheetahs in Africa for long periods of time. They've gone on short trips. You need a couple of years to understand cheetahs. You needed teams of people to go and look at how they behave, what they need. We don't look at the animal's needs. We look at our vanity projects, our pride projects. We don't go deeper. Unless we do our homework well, unless we go deeper into these issues, these projects really are redundant. They should be reviewed, modified, and if necessary, withdrawn. We require the money to save our very special wildlife, tigers, snow leopards, great Indian bustards. We have rich with species from one end of India to another. We require to use this money for purposes which are more important to our indigenous wildlife. We've got grounded in India on a cheetah reintroduction project. I'm questioning the very basis of it, saying that most of the cheetahs in India in the last 300 years, and you can go through every record you want, every description from every antiquarian book, were paltu cheetahs. They were imported, they were got into this country, they were looked after by kings and emperors who loved them because they could cuddle them, they could hunt with them, they could bring food. And the strays went into pockets of forest and got killed at some point. But this was not the land of the cheetah. And so understand where the land of the cheetah is. Go out there into the midst of Africa, go out and see the wide open spaces and see if there's a connect between India and its terrain and where the cheetahs are living today.
Right. Valmik Thapar, there's never been a very successful introduction, correct me if I'm wrong, reintroduction of cheetahs into an unfenced reserve, you know, when you look at recorded history. It has been attempted 15 times apparently in Africa and it failed each time, you know. So, in the context of Kuno National Park also and the cheetahs that we have lost, this theory still works, does it, Valmik Thapar?
I think you're going to lose cheetahs if you allow them to free range, but whenever they have free range, the cheetah is trying to find its habitat and going to the border of Jhansi or moving towards even the edge of Rajasthan. You've redarted the animal, brought it back into the enclosure. So I want to ask, there's no transparency, no journalists can visit Kuno Palpur, no one is going there and monitoring with the forest staff as to what's happening. How many cheetahs are in the enclosures? How many are sitting outside? Where are they sitting? Why don't you get a team of people, our young scientists, and take them out there and show them the reality? Why is no one being allowed to go there? Open it up. Let everyone see what's happening. It's been 9 months. So I can't answer your question. Have you been yourself to see this area? Have you monitored the cheetahs? Do you know how many are outside and how many are inside? I don't. If you do know, tell me.
Right. You know, Valmik, the other thing is that this project has been going on. I mean, you know, you say that this project needs more detailing, God lies in the detail, but this has been going on for more than what, 6 decades now? One read about it, then we waited, there were several reports done. Mr. Jairam Ramesh, I mean, I'm talking about the UPA government, you know, during that time. Jairam also visited, if I recall right, South Africa. You know, so what I want to understand is that today we are all mourning the deaths of these little fellas, as it were. One is in intensive care. So, I mean, there has not been enough and more heads who have put together their plans to say, this doesn't work, we need more. Like you said at the outset, Valmik Thapar, India is not the land of cheetahs. So, somewhere do you think that all these experts who may have sat together have really not focused on what is the kernel of the problem?
I think all the experts, and I'm including Jairam in this because I was involved with him during that last tenure, he triggered the cheetah reintroduction of India. He triggered it. But before that, the Honorable Supreme Court had said no to cheetah introduction. Then they have their mind now and they're looking at the whole business of cheetah reintroduction. I think a lot of the experts needed to understand how free-ranging cheetahs are living in the wild in their source populations, wherever those source populations are, and they're mainly today in Africa. Don't look at South Africa. South Africa is full of fenced reserves. Pinda, which is one of the source populations for our cheetahs to come here from South Africa, is called a wildlife park, but it's completely fenced. I've spent 10 days in Pinda. I know how Pinda works. It's manipulated by human beings. It's not like releasing cheetahs into a free-ranging Kuno Palpur and watching them go in different directions. I mean, I've been telling my friends in Ranthambore, one day the cheetah will run 60 kilometers and it'll be in Ranthambore. Then it'll face tigers. In Kuno Palpur, it faces leopards and hyenas and village dogs. It's a very fragile, beautiful, elegant animal. It requires speed to escape danger. That's why nature has given him a speed of 100 to 110 kilometers to get away. where is it going to run at that speed through forest, hill, nala, terrain to get away from any problem it faces besides the temperature, besides the terrain? After all, the 3 adult cheetahs who've died and the 3 cubs that have died basically in and around the enclosure. They haven't died trying to find their free-ranging spaces, unless you can correct me.
Right. Valmik Thapar, I mean, what is the way ahead now, considering that we do have a project in place, we have remaining cheetahs there. This is, you know, the intent was to kind of see to it that they do not further, they are not eclipsed, as it were. But would you have any kind of suggestion as to how to perhaps salvage this, Valmik Thapar?
Yeah, in my opinion, there is a whole bunch of government officers and government scientists on one side. They need to have a discussion with those who oppose this cheetah reintroduction or are critical of it. People like Dr. Dharmender Khandal, Dr. Ravi Chelam, Dr. Raghu Chundawat, Dr. Ullas Karan, Dr. Dhar, put them on the other side. All of them need to think out a plan where opposing views, like, as you know, I grew up debating in school. We need to have opposing views together to evolve a firm opinion on how we save the cheetahs that we have. And for that, you require all the different views of people, serious people, scientists, naturalists, on how we keep these cheetahs alive. There's no point in having everyone on one side and all the opposing views not consulted and not listened to. Put them all together in a room, they'll come out with a solution in the end, and these beautiful animals, which I love, which are graceful and elegant, can survive. Otherwise, we'll have more sad news coming in the weeks ahead. The summer has a long way to go and a raging monsoon to follow.